Welcome, everybody. Welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome, fellow deplorables. Welcome, fellow dregs of society. Welcome, all you rock dwellers. Welcome once again to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. And joining me today as my co-host is the Doctor for the Republic, Dr. Right, Dr. Nasir Shaihk. Nasir, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Rick, pleasure to be on once again with you, and it's just another great day to be alive and well and free and living in the United States of America, the greatest country in the history of the world. You've got that beautiful American flag behind you. I've got one behind me with my Mount Rushmore of conservatives. Always have on my American tie, raring to go, because this is what America is all about, the ability to do whatever you want on any given day. And thank God each and every day that we get the ability to do that, Rick.
That's right. Absolutely right. Well, Nasir, you know, the Mueller report came out last week. And in unison, right after that, and again, it's these Democrat talking points. In unison, all you're hearing now is impeach, impeach, impeach. In fact, the word impeach was used like 358 times on the Alphabet Network the day after the Mueller report came out.
You know, you're right. It's really funny that when you see these pundits on these, you know, on the delusional MSLSD, I like to call it, you've got the Cabal News Network, CNN. I mean, whenever you see these pundits, and even among, let's just say, people on the conservative right, and they'll ask these questions. They'll go, do you really think that now that the Mueller report is out, that the Democrats will just put it to bed, and they'll come out and they'll apologize? And I really wonder, I mean, did these people actually have a sense of reality or not? No. Why would you even think that? It's like, it's sort of like, remember in the Peanuts cartoon? Lucy's always holding the football, and Charlie Brown thinks he's ready to he's going to hold it. And every single time he thinks this is going to be the time that she's going to hold it there. But what does she always do? She always whisks it away. And that's exactly what the Democrats are doing. Just like you're saying. And you see the montage, Rick, every time you see these montages, wherever they play them, like sometimes they'll do it on Rush. I'm sure you've done it on your show, whatever. The talking points that are coming down from the Democratic National Committee, from the people within the Democratic Party, from the liberals, it's word for word. It's like you said, impeachment, impeachment, impeachment. It's their talking points.
I don't know where the talking points come from. I don't know if they come from Nancy Pelosi's office, or there's a staff of Democrats somewhere that comes up with these talking points and then circulates them among their media and pundits and their mouths. But it's the same thing.
You're right. I've got a theory on this, and I said I think in the past it used to be that the DNC, or the Democratic National Committee, and the liberals and the Democrats within the party, I think they used to have the talking points. They used to speak what they wanted to do, and then guess what? The media fell behind them, and then just basically went ahead with what they were doing and just reiterated those words. I think, Rick, right now, my theory is that in the last, let's say, 8 years since Barack Obama has come up on board, and prior to him starting, but definitely within those 8 years of his monarchy, I think what happened was, and it's even now during Donald Trump's time, in 2016 up until now, that the media, the alt-left, the left-stream media, what I call the Democratic State Party control, they're the ones that are setting the agenda. They're the ones that are setting the words and the tone. And guess who's following behind them now? It's the the Democrats within the party, the liberals, the leftists. I think they're following the lead that is being set by the agenda, because right now the media,
I think they're setting the agenda, actually.
That's right. The media is setting the agenda for them, and they're just
and these radicals. I think the media and these radicals.
Absolutely.
I think it starts with the radicals. The media picks it up on it, And
Yeah.
the proverbial tail wagging the dog.
Absolutely.
Then the rest
Absolutely.
of the Democrats are have to catch up with them. In fact, Nancy Pelosi is trying to rein these people in who keep calling for impeachment. And she's saying, well, I don't know about impeachment. Investigation, yes, but I'm not so sure about impeachment. And I think there's a reason for that, Nasser. And we saw this during the Clinton impeachment. The American people don't like their president impeached. The
That's
American
right.
people don't like insecurity. They like things to be secure. So when their president is being threatened. I remember this during Watergate. It was kind of a scary time for America. What do we do if Nixon resigns? What do we do if Nixon's impeached? What do we do if Nixon's convicted? It was a scary time in America. And we saw that again with Bill Clinton when Bill Clinton was impeached. That was a bad move by the Republicans. But I like the fact that the Democrats are continuing to talk about impeachment and investigation.
Absolutely.
I do believe that America is going to get sick of this. They're going to say, wait, the Mueller report came out. There was nothing in this. There was nothing in this. So when they continue to push investigation after investigation, if they continue to push impeachment, I think that is going to hurt them in 2020. So I say, good, continue to talk about it. But they don't have a lot else to talk about. What do they have to talk about? Free college for all, forgiveness of student loans,
Right.
Medicare for all, and the Green New Deal. That's the only thing that they can talk about. Look at the economy. The economy is going gangbusters. In fact, yesterday, the Dow, the NASDAQ hit all-time record highs. The Trump economy is booming.
It is.
Let's just hope it still holds true. What Bill Clinton said, it's the economy stupid. It's the economy stupid.
You're absolutely right, Rick. And you know what? Sometimes when you think about it, you go, what's good for the American people? And then you think about it and you go, while the Democrats continue on this impeachment road, they try to, subpoena tax returns, they're not doing anything for the American public. The only person that has been able to do something after being attacked relentlessly by this special counsel investigation, by people within his own party, by Paul Ryan, by the other so-called, never-Trumpers within the party, and then obviously the people on the other side. He still managed to do so many things, our president. And we could our 2-hour show, you could start listing them and you'd still need another, 10 hours to fit all those in. But it's amazing. And you just think about it and go, what could he have accomplished to an even greater extent if he wasn't hampered by this 24/7 barrage of just invectives and, innuendos and assaults and allegations that are all untrue coming at it. There's nobody else that could have done this, Rick. Nobody.
Oh, I agree. I agree. And I think that in spite of everything, in spite of Trump being opposed by the Democrats, in spite of Trump being opposed by the deep state, in spite of Trump being opposed by members of his own party, he has done some great things. And our economy,
yes,
where our economy is right now, is proof pudding of all of that.
Absolutely.
Hey, Nasser, we do need to take a break, and you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, Dr. Nasir Shaihk, and yours truly, Rick Trader. And today's show, like all our shows, is brought to you by the First Amendment, protected by the Second. Don't go away. Nasser and I will be right back to tell you who our guests are for the day and what the topics of conversation will be.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
And this is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Nasir Shaihk and yours truly, Rick Trader. For rebroadcast of our shows, please check out our website, ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. You can find our radio show there, our TV show, a lot of great articles, a lot of great information. And speaking of which, Nasir, we have a couple of great guests joining us today.
We do, Rick. Our first guest is Daniel Ortner. He's an attorney with the Pacific Legal Foundation, basically focusing on First Amendment rights, property rights, economic liberty. Daniel is he's talked about San Antonio and how the Chick-fil-A stores were not allowed to, the process to begin being built at the airports out there in San Antonio. Mm-hmm. So his article was Why Free Speech Matters. That's an article by Daniel Ortner. And our second guest is Richard Manning. He is the president of Americans for Limited Government. He worked directly with President Trump's on President Trump's committee on trade issues during President Trump's run for office. He's talked about his article, Sri Lanka Easter Massacres Underscored the Threat Posed to the West and Christianity. So once again, two great guests that you've lined up for us here, Rick.
All right. And again, Nasir, in the news, there's so much in the news. Last night, or the night before, the Democrats had a bunch of town hall meetings on CNN, these Democrat candidates. Did you get an opportunity to watch that?
I didn't get a chance. I did TiVo it, so I'm going to take a listen to it later. But yeah, I mean, it's like right now, Biden, for example, the whole thing with Biden is that it was supposed to be put, I think they're supposed to be sometime this week, Wednesday, Thursday, they were supposed to do a rollout for Biden. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden we're hearing now that that's being sort of, put back a little bit. And you got to wonder, Is there some reservations on Joe Biden's part right now? Is there something going on? Because now he's seeing Pete, the new kid on the block, Pete, I guess it's Buttigieg? Buttigieg, whatever you want to call it.
Well, what gets me about this Buttigieg?
Buttigieg.
What gets
bag.
me about this guy, Pete Buttigieg, he's the mayor of, what's the name of the town that the Notre Dame University?
I think South Bend, Indiana. South Bend.
See, a city, he's the mayor of South Bend, Indiana. Okay, a city of about 100,000 people.
Right.
Probably most of those people are there because of the University of Notre Dame. Never heard anything about this guy. This guy decides he's going to run for president. And the only thing that I believe distinguishes him is the fact that he's gay. Right. If he wasn't gay, nobody would know about
nobody
this guy.
would care. That's right.
He's
You're
in second or third place in the polls.
Right.
Behind Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden. But the fact that he's gay, that his sexuality is defining who he is.
Absolutely.
And on that alone, he's in third place in the Democrat polls. As I said, behind Bernie Sanders, a U.S. senator, somebody who's run for president, and Joe Biden, somebody who has been president, who has been a senator, who has run for president in years past. He's ahead of Elizabeth Warren.
Kamala Harris.
He's ahead of them all.
Right.
So what defines this person?
I mean, you're right. He's a white male who's gay.
Yeah,
and what is it that the right now that is completely, you don't want to be within the Democratic Party right now?
A white man.
A white man.
Yes.
I mean, that's what you don't want to be. So you're absolutely right. What is he bringing to the party? To the platform. What's he bringing to the forefront? When you hear him speak, I didn't hear him speak at the town hall, but when you've seen some other videos and when he's come on there, you want to talk about just platitudes that are out there. It's like listening to Barack Obama, except he's white and Barack Obama was half black, basically. But the platitudes that are coming out there, I mean, it's like, oh, you know what? What did he say? God doesn't have a party. God's not a Republican or a Democrat. And everybody looks at it and goes, wow, that is really, really astounding. Thank you, Pete. Thanks for letting us know about that. I mean, it's unbelievable how these people just sort of, the next person out there that they can basically put on the mantle and kneel and worship, he's the guy right now. And you're right. It's all because of his sexuality. Or lack thereof.
or lack thereof. And, it seems like the big question that a lot of them got asked was about voting rights. And should convicted criminals have the right to vote? And Bernie Sanders said, of course they could. And then he was asked the question about the Boston bomber. Should the Boston bomber have the right to vote? He said, absolutely, the Boston bomber should have the right to vote.
These guys are nuts.
One of the big questions, And then the question out there about the student loan debt forgiveness. It's almost like education now is a right, okay? I've never seen it anywhere in the Constitution, but people believe that you should have the right to a free education. You should have the right to a free college education, in addition to all the other entitlements, like welfare and food stamps and LIHEAP and free cell phones and Section 8 housing. Now you have a right to free college education. Well, I'm a big believer in education, Nasir, but I think the people that get the most out of education are people that pay for it themselves because they see an absolute value in it because it was their hard-earned dollars that went into it. Anyway.
You're right.
Second Amendment's also in the news, Nasir. Second Amendment in the state of New Jersey.
What do you think about? I mean, you're out there in New Jersey now. They're putting.
Don't tell anybody. I told you guys we don't mention where I'm.
Right.
At.
It's all right. anyways, this is how they're going to sort of get around, the Second Amendment. They know that they can't fight it directly in the courts. They know it's enshrined within the Bill of Rights. Mm-hmm. But what they're going to do is utilize rules like this, where they're going to go to banks and they're going to tell banks and say, you know what, if you do business with that firearms manufacturer, we're not going to allow your bank to continue to be,
that during the Obama administration.
Yes.
Something called Stop Check or whatever.
Exactly.
That credit card companies and banks refuse to do business with gun manufacturing and gun shops and things like that.
Taxing. So now they're going to put $550 for a license fee so that you can carry a firearm. I'm surprised they kept it at $550.
Well, the fee is going up to $550 from $27.
Yes.
So what's that? Almost a 2,000% increase. I would like to see this passed, and I'll tell you why. Because it's going to be interesting to see all the people that get gun permits before this takes effect.
Right.
There are going to be thousands and tens of thousands of people that get guns before this takes effect.
And the other thing is going to be how is the left going to go ahead and say, for example, and this isn't going to stop Americans with the Second Amendment. It's just not going to stop them. I mean, if the fee is imposed, they're going to pay the fee. But guess what now? I mean, now you got money coming to the government. I'd like to see how the left is going to address the fact that the money that they're getting is coming from, citizens, who are basically saying the Second Amendment is a right.
And Nasir, the criminals
will
continue to get guns.
Absolutely.
They're not going to pay $550. They're not even going to pay the $27.
Exactly.
Criminals will get guns. This will not stop criminals from getting guns. Nasir, we got to go to a break. And you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Nasir Shaihk, and yours truly, Rick Trader. Once again, today's show brought to you by the First Amendment, protected by the Second. On the other side, we're going to be speaking with Daniel Ortner. He's an attorney with the Pacific Legal Foundation. We're going to talk about San Antonio, and Chick-fil-A shows why free speech matters. Don't go away. We'll be right back with our first guest.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is, there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to BuyYourTimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
And thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader. My co-host today is Dr. Wright, the Doctor for the Republic, Dr. Nasir Shaihk. And Nasir, we do have our next guest with us. Please make him feel welcome.
Thank you, Rick. We have Daniel Ortner. He's an attorney with the Pacific Legal Foundation. They focus on First Amendment, property rights, economic liberty, and curtailing the overreach of the administrative state. Daniel's also been published extensively on First Amendment topics, including freedom of speech, freedom of association, and the free exercise of religion. Daniel was born in Israel. He moved to the United States at a young age. He says he is grateful for the incredible blessings of liberty that he enjoyed here in America, and particularly for the freedoms to think, speak, worship, and associate that are guaranteed in the Constitution. Daniel, welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, great. Well, we want to get to an article that you wrote about San Antonio and the Chick-fil-A shows why free speech matters. But before we do, you are an attorney with Pacific Legal Foundation. We sort of listed what they do. Give us an idea as to what a day in the life at Pacific Legal Foundation is for you, for our listening and viewing audience.
Sure. So we are litigating against the government. Our goal is to help people who are being bullied or oppressed by the government to sue and to win. So we represent clients pro bono. We do a variety of cases. Our kind of bread and butter for years has been property rights. We defend property owners. Right now I'm involved in a case in Oakland, for instance, challenging the Oakland ordinance, which requires landlords to pay thousands of dollars in a relocation fee to their tenants when they want to move back into their own home. So we're challenging that under the takings clause and some other provisions of the Constitution. We litigated 12 now winning cases at the Supreme Court, and been up there a bunch of times arguing on property rights, free speech, challenging the administrative state. So we're helping people sue and prevail against the government.
Oh, wonderful. Now, this really caught my attention, obviously. Chick-fil-A, I mean, this is some place where, we love to go. The kids, we love to go there. Not only do they have great food, but it's like going to family. So I always thought, for example, that Austin was the blueberry among the strawberry out in Texas or whatever, the strawberry patch. But is San Antonio also, are they leaning leftist too with this whole thing that's going on with Chick-fil-A?
Well, they're pretty divided at the moment, but the head of their city council has been pushing really hard against Chick-fil-A. The beginning of the story is back in, I believe, 2012. The owner of Chick-fil-A spoke out critical of gay marriage, voicing his Christian beliefs about marriage. There was a lot of criticism back then, some efforts to boycott Chick-fil-A. He kind of backed down from the spotlight. They haven't spoken out about the issue since then. But just a couple of weeks ago, a hit piece was published by Think Progress, a liberal group that looks at conservatives and digs up dirt about them, and basically said, well, look, Chick-fil-A is donating to groups like the Salvation Army, for soup kitchens and blood drives and helping children. Salvation Army believes in traditional understanding of marriage. They're Christian and they're anti-gay according to the people that Think Progress. And since then, Chick-fil-A has been targeted. San Antonio and also Buffalo, New York, there's been a similar event, and in San Jose in California, they're kind of been going after them, all saying, well, we don't want them in our airports. We don't want to give them contracts because of their view, the owner's views and the donations that they've given.
Well, give us an idea as to, obviously, they're saying that this type of censorship is, as you mentioned, blatantly unconstitutional.
Right.
What is in terms of this story, where is Chick-fil-A? Are they going to be fighting this? Is this something that's going to be taken up and perhaps go all the way up to the Supreme Court?
I don't have any special insight into whether they're going to do so. I like I was saying, a couple of years ago, they kind of backed away from this fight. They said, well, we're going to not make statements. We're going to kind of avoid the public spotlight. But now it's kind of being brought to them. People are going and digging up their private donations, their charitable work, and looking for any opportunity to pounce on them. So I hope they fight back this time, because they're not being given the opportunity to back out of the spotlight. It's being brought to them. So I would hope they would. I think if they do, they have a very good chance of winning. There's a very foundational principle in the First Amendment that is the government does not get to decide what is orthodox in matters of speech and matters of religion and matters of opinion. So they can't say, if you don't believe like we do, if you don't think like we do, if you don't agree with us on an issue, we're not going to contract with you. We're going to exclude you from the public square. That is clearly forbidden since World War II, a consistent stream of Supreme Court precedent. So I think that Chick-fil-A would win if they would bring a lawsuit. I don't know if they're going to do so or not.
And not only that, but I truly believe, like with the sort of like, if you look at it from a libertarian, aspect or whatever, I think in today's economy, in today's world, I don't even think you would need to have a law that says, you can't serve somebody because of this. I truly believe that if there was an establishment that came out there and says, you know what, we are not going to serve blacks. We're not going to serve you if you're Indian or whatever. I truly believe that establishment would go under immediately. I mean, I just don't think that because there's with such an outcry from people, they would just not go there. I have something against, like, for example, Ben and Jerry's. I used to love their ice cream till I found out they were leftists. And then I said, you know what? I made a decision. I don't want to, boycott. I mean, I don't want them not to have their foods okay in grocery stores. I want it there. But I've made a conscious decision myself to say, you know what? I'm not going to support them because the issues that they support are contrary to what I do. And I think they should do the same thing with these stores here. So one of the things that you wrote here too is that you said that up until the Second World War, our dedication to protecting controversy with hateful ideas has sometimes faltered. Can you give us, our audience, an idea as to maybe one or two examples of why you made that statement?
Sure. I mean, in the pre-Second World War period, we would jail those who spoke out against the war effort, and there was some pretty famous Supreme Court cases upholding jailing those who under this kind of idea of sedition,
right,
who would criticize the war effort. I think that really after the Second World War, there became a really strong consensus that was not the way to go. That the way to go is to allow people to have their voice, allow people to speak very passionately, even about issues, debate in the public square, boycott as necessary, but not have the government step in. I think going back to what you said, that I wanted to make clear that I think what you said is right as a matter of libertarian principle, but no one in this case right now is saying Chick-fil-A should be able to discriminate against LGBT individuals.
Correct.
There's not a single allegation that they've ever turned away a gay customer, ever fired an employee for being gay. There simply is no evidence of actual discrimination, and San Antonio is perfectly allowed to, under modern law, to say they cannot discriminate against gay and lesbian individuals. But what San Antonio is doing is going beyond that and saying, there's no evidence of discrimination here, but your very act of speech and your act of association with Christian organizations is prima facie evidence. It is already proof that you are discriminating, and that is an act of violence and aggression that we need to censor. And so it's not about Chick-fil-A's actions or hiring practices or anything like that. This is purely about their private donations that they've given and their viewpoint of their owner. And so I think that's an important distinction to make.
Now, besides Chick-fil-A out there, are there any other examples that you've seen where, municipalities or areas have gone after, other types of, companies or corporations?
Well, Chick-fil-A is the main example I know of where they're going after an organization purely for their speech. There's the whole class of cases that's winding its way up again to the Supreme Court, like the Masterpiece Cake case involving a baker who didn't want to serve a bake a cake, custom cake for a gay couple. This is a different class of cases, because here it's going after these organizations purely for their viewpoint and not for their actions or for their unwillingness to serve anyone. And so I think this is an easier case, and it's a pretty blatant. The best maybe analogy right now is what's happening on university campuses to some degree, where they're going after conservative groups or censoring conservative viewpoints. That might be the best analogy to what's happening with Chick-fil-A. But I don't know of any other examples that are as blatant, going after a group solely because of the group's viewpoint on an issue or their donations to a cause, and not because of some policy or practice that they disagree with.
Well, I think we're going to have President Trump do an executive order, out there to allow, chickens
eat more chicken.
Right. But you know what? I don't know what's going to happen with AOC and the cows in. I mean, what's going to happen? But listen, Rick, you want to take this into a break?
Sure. Here on the Conservative Commandos radio show, our guest is Daniel Ortner. He is an attorney with the Pacific Legal Foundation. We're discussing an article that Daniel wrote, San Antonio and the Chick-fil-A shows why free speech matters. Daniel, we have to take a break. Could you hold on for just a few moments for us, please? And this is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader. My co-host today is Dr. Nasir Shaihk, and we're coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. Don't go away. We will be right back.
I saw voter fraud with my own eyes. Now, people say, why didn't you report it to the authorities? Well, they were the ones doing it.
The integrity of one man, one vote doesn't apply at the Texas state legislature. There is no way to know if your representatives are voting for themselves.
Hartman, a Republican, reaches back to vote for Democrat Oliveira. Democrat Matt Reynolds votes for Republican England.
2 out of 3 voters nationwide believe that voter fraud is a serious problem in the U.S. today.
The process is rigged.
Both sides of the aisle are guilty.
Florida now has to tell the Department of Justice whether the state will comply with DOJ's demand to stop purging thousands of people from its voter rolls.
We have the sloppiest election system of any industrialized democracy.
Philadelphia flagged 50,000 duplicate registrations, so just think how many more slipped through.
It's almost impossible to detect. How do you get caught? You only get caught if you confess.
Election corruption is deeply embedded in America. Quote, election fraud is a crime that usually pays, unquote, writes Tracy Campbell in his book, Deliver the Vote, A History of Election Fraud, an American political tradition from 1742 to 2004. In 1742, the first Prime Minister of Britain in the American colonies, Robert Walpole, was forced to resign.
We have a right not to have our vote canceled out by someone who shouldn't be voting, someone who's an illegal alien, someone who's a felon not eligible to vote, someone who doesn't exist. If they vote, they cancel your vote out as much as if you're prevented from voting.
If this is going to be fixed, it's going to have to be a citizen effort. It comes down to, it's the same old question, if not now, when? If not us, then who?
This is huge. This is about the democracy and the principles of the United States of America. People say, but why you? Why you? Why? Well, why not? And if it starts with a fireman, if it starts with a sanitation worker, if it starts with a teacher or a nurse or a caretaker of the elderly, then so be it. It's got to start somewhere. But it's time we come together and fix this problem once and for all.
There is no serious person out there who would suggest somehow that you could even rig America's elections.
To say that it doesn't exist is an outright lie.
Serious allegations of voter fraud. The claims raising questions about the
Commerce Secretary Ron Brown and 32 others were on a military plane that crashed today in a violent storm. There are no known survivors at this time.
The U.S. Army was funded
by the evil entity.
Saw voter fraud with my own eyes.
To say that it doesn't exist is an outright lie.
The process is rigged.
So it's incredibly important now that we draw a line and say, not on our watch.
And thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader. My co-host today is Nasir Shaihk. And our guest this segment is Daniel Ortner. He's an attorney with the Pacific Legal Foundation. We're discussing an article that Daniel wrote, San Antonio and Chick-fil-A shows why free speech matters. Daniel, thank you for holding through that break. We do appreciate your time.
Yeah, happy to be here.
And Daniel, you write in your article, the San Antonio City Council recently voted to exclude Chick-fil-A from the city's airport because of the restaurant's Christian owners have donated to organizations that champion the belief that marriage is between a man and a woman. Daniel, this really bugs me, and I'll tell you why. The gay agenda is pushing their lifestyles, trying to make their lifestyle the normal. I would rather fall on the thousands of years of teaching, wisdom, and education that have come down from God. And it seems like within the past 15, 20 years, the LGBTQ group have been able to upset the apple cart on this thinking. Why is that in your thinking? Why do you think that could possibly be?
I think really, I mean,
would you agree with that?
I think that there are a lot of difficult questions that need to be debated in society about the role, the balance of LGBT rights and religious freedom, and there are a whole host of difficult questions and difficult discussions that need to be had to find the proper balance. I think the problem was what San Antonio is doing and what many are doing on the left is they're saying, we have all the answers, and anything that is different from our understanding is bigoted and hateful, and we're not even going to allow debate. I think that what's happening here is the force of government is being used as a tool to end the debate, to say, well, we have all the answers that we need, and that is a very dangerous thinking. This idea that it's like similar to the idea of burning witches because we're so sure that what they're doing is wrong, and it's turning those who want to dialogue and a debate and to seek a consensus into treating them as if they're bigoted and deserve to be excluded. I went to law school at Brigham Young University in Utah, and in the state of Utah a couple of years ago, there was a Fairness for All. It was called a bill balancing LGBT rights and religious freedom. And those kind of compromises just can't happen in a society where the very act of speaking is treated as hatred. Where you can't have a discussion, you can't have a dialogue, you can't reach any kind of legislative consensus or compromise because you're saying, well, we are not even going to let you have your voice, and if you speak, we're going to hound you out of society and we're going to punish you with the force of the government. That's really dangerous. I think wherever you are on the actual substance or the actual policy questions, I think you really should want real debate and a real opportunity for people to come together, to dialogue, to reach compromise, to act in good faith. And that's not possible when everyone is, the instant someone speaks out or says anything, everyone jumps on them and they digs through their donations to say, well, you supported this organization, therefore we're going to change you. And I think people are just sick of that. That doesn't lead to productive dialogue. It doesn't lead to productive legislation. It just leads to the furtherance of the culture wars. And so I think that's really the problem, is this certainty and this idea that speech against anything that doesn't any speech that takes traditional views on sexuality is violence. It is hatred. It is needs to be rooted out because it is so vile that we can't allow it to be even expressed. That thinking is really dangerous and very contrary to the ideals of the First Amendment that have prevailed in this nation.
Daniel, in your article, you said such censorship is blatantly unconstitutional. You also write, many people believe that they have the absolute truth with regard to issues of morality, sexuality, religion, or politics, and that those who disagree are evil and must be censored and excluded. And more, Daniel, we are seeing this.
Right.
This vilification of people who have Christian beliefs.
Really, I mean, it's something we've seen, and if you look at Europe, you see this in full force, where the act of, if you speak in a way that is offensive to someone, if you, for instance, misgender someone, that there are actual criminal penalties associated with that, and that's really frightening. I think we're really fortunate that in this country there has been a very strong pro-speech consensus, and it's a bipartisan consensus. Liberal appointees on the Supreme Court and conservative appointees on the Supreme Court have had unanimous decisions upholding the rights of groups to speak out. There was a decision from a couple of years ago upholding the right of the Westboro Baptist Church to hold their really hateful rallies and protests. There have been decisions in favor of left-wing causes like pro-communist groups having the right to be on student campuses. It's a bipartisan ideal that we do not use the force of government to exclude people. We allow the Nazis to march on Skokie, Illinois, a very Jewish-heavy town. We allow those that we dislike or disagree with or hate to have a voice, to have the opportunity to speak, and the remedy is more speech or good speech to persuade people rather than to try to kick out or exclude people or shut them up. And that consensus is unfortunately breaking down, and I really am afraid that we're going to follow the direction of Europe, where there isn't that understanding, that where they're much quicker to say, well, if you're offensive, if you're hurting someone's feelings, we are going to step in and censor you. That's what I don't want to see. I think that the foundation, if we lose sight of the foundations of why the First Amendment matters, why we allow speech that we disagree with to exist, then we're much more likely to go down that path than if we remember the reasons, like why speech matters and why we have that consensus.
Daniel, I think that we're so fortunate that we have First Amendment rights. I think a lot of people take it for granted, and they don't realize how unique the First Amendment is to the United States, specifically in light of the examples that you used. That, for instance, in Canada, you don't have this in your article, but for instance, in Canada, there's parts of the Bible that you cannot read because Canada says it's hate speech. You use these examples in England, and also this other example. The European Court of Human Rights refused to review a decision affirming the conviction of an Australian politician for making inflammatory remarks about the Prophet Muhammad.
Right.
We take the First Amendment for granted, but it's really unique in the world, isn't it, Daniel?
It really is. Like I'm saying, I think that we have a unique understanding of speech, that the remedy to speech is to, if you're offended by something, the answer is you allow more speech. You counter it with a protest, a rally, a boycott movement, but you don't use the force of government. The founders understood they were not cowards, in the words of a famous Supreme Court decision. They were not afraid. They did not exalt liberty or exalt security at the cost of liberty. They allowed individuals to be offended, to disagree, to have dialogue, and I think that's something very precious. That if we could really lose if people begin to keep seeing speech they disagree with as violent. Offensive. If you're offended, that is an injury to your person and to your psychological state of being, and we have to stamp that out. Right. Individuals are resilient. That's the view of the First Amendment. They can handle disagreement. They can handle seeing something that they're offended by. seeing the Chick-fil-A sign does not cause someone harm or violence. Seeing something that they disagree with doesn't inflict that kind of injury, and so we allow that. And if we lose that understanding, I think that we really are on the path to the position that's been taken in Europe and elsewhere.
You know, Daniel, that you mentioned that Chick-fil-A has tried to stay out of the spotlight. I think it's a mistake, because when they were in the spotlight in 2012, I guess it was, I know
so, yeah.
Me and my wife and a whole lot of other people went to Chick-fil-A. In fact, we bought $50 worth of gift cards and gave them to everybody at Christmas. I don't know. I think it was good publicity for them. And seems like every time I pass by a Chick-fil-A, they're always busy. Always busy.
Yeah. People like the food. I think they like that the organization gives to charity. You know, that's been what they're being targeted for now. But they actually give money to charity. They treat their workers well. They have strong values. They are closed on Sundays in honor of their religious beliefs. And I think people respect that. And people are just frankly tired of everything being enormous political controversy. They want to be able to go buy a chicken sandwich without it being part of a political firestorm.
Right. Daniel Ortner, Pacific Legal Foundation. Daniel, I want to thank you for not just coming on to Conservative Commandos and sharing time with us, but I want to thank you and everyone at the Pacific Legal Foundation for what you do in fighting for individual rights. So important, so important.
Happy to do it.
You know, the left has the ACLU and a lot of other groups like that. It's great that there is an organization like the Pacific Legal Foundation. But Daniel, before you go, please tell our audience how they can find out more about the Pacific Legal Foundation, how they could follow you and read what you write.
Sure. We have the website pacificlegal.org. We also have our Facebook page for Pacific Legal Foundation. We post articles on our website. They're blog posts that we publish and use about our cases, and we publish a lot of great stories on Facebook. We do videos and in-depth looking at our cases, looking at the clients that we're defending, that we're helping to fight back against tyranny and against government oppression. So pacificlegal.org, and then our Facebook page as well, and Twitter and other social media as well.
And where can our listeners read your article?
So we have a link to it on our main page now, so you can go to pacificlegal.org. It was published in the San Antonio Express News on Sunday, but we have a link to it on our website.
Well, I'm glad you put it right in the belly of the beast. I'm glad it got right to San Antonio. Daniel Ortner, thank you so much for joining us. And again, thank you so much for what you do. Take care and God bless.
Thank you. Have a good day.
And this is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Nasir Shaihk and yours truly, Rick Trader. Don't go away. On the other side, we're going to have When You're Right with Nasir Shaihk.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America, and get this. Did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome, fellow patriots, and welcome, fellow deplorables. Welcome again to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm your happy and your humble host. My name is Dr. Nasir Shaihk, and I'm coming to you live from the studios of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. I want to give a shout out to our listeners in Jacksonville, Tampa, and the Villages, Florida, Las Vegas and Reno, Nevada, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, PA, Boulder and Colorado Springs, Colorado, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and to all you lovable leftists, all you people out there on the left coast, the wrong coast, that's right, Long Beach, California. Folks, we are everywhere. We are everywhere. And as I like to begin the show by saying, isn't it just an absolutely another great day to be alive and well and free and living in the United States of America, the greatest country in the history of the world, bar none. I've got the American flag in the background, as I always do. I've got the American flag tie on, as I always do as well. And folks, another absolutely great day out here. And there's so much stuff that's going on in the news cycle. But first, I want to focus a little bit about what's happening on the Democratic side. There's a bunch of things that are happening, folks. There's about, maybe a few hundred people, it looks like, that are starting to, come out of the woodwork and say that they would like to be the president of the United States on the Democratic ticket. So what's happening right now? Well, we see that Joe Biden was supposed to come out sometime, middle of this week to end of the week. We've been hearing about this ever since Obama, left and President Trump won. We've been hearing about good old Joe and that he's going to be running for president. There was something, I think, on the internet the other day that talked about that a previous aide to Senator Biden or Vice President Biden said that they were just wondering what the hell is going on with the launch of Biden's, presidential campaign. In fact, there was a quote there saying it's half-assed or half-derriered for those that are politically correct. What is going on? They're pushing it back now. And you're wondering, do you think that good old Joe is having second thoughts? Is it really possible that he may be deciding that he's not going to throw his proverbial hat into the Democratic ring? You know what? I don't know, but I have a feeling that the party that Joe Biden thinks is the Democratic Party, I don't think it's there anymore, folks. I mean, we keep hearing the same mantra over and over and over again from all the progressives, from all those individual, what they do with the identity politics, where they slice and dice everybody and put you into a group for the Democratic Party. And what is the worst thing right now to be if you're in the Democratic Party? White, male, and old. Okay? You are on the freaking bottom of the proverbial totem pole. Uh-oh. Can we even say totem pole anymore? I mean, I don't know. You might have the Indian activists come out basically and say that it's triggering them because that's not politically correct. Well, then what do you want to, how do you, what do you say then? Anyways, right now, who is leading the pack? Well, supposedly you got Bernie Sanders is out in front, and he's already declared his run. Then, of course, Joe Biden is coming in second. After Biden, you've got Pete Buttigieg, the mayor from South Bend, Indiana, and his claim to fame, well, guess what? He fits what? He's white, he's male, but he's not old. No, he's the antithesis of that. He's young. But guess what, folks? There's one checkbox in there which basically negates all the other stuff. Gay. See, if you're gay or transgender or LGBT or, you know, whatever, if you're one of those consonants, there may be a vowel in there or two, I'm not sure. But anyways, you vote right to the top. It's sort of like when, you know, you hear Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens, they talk about, you know, these are sort of like the Olympics. And what you're basically doing out there is you're competing for identity politic Olympics. And so, yes, he's white. Yes, he's male. But because of his sexuality, he's allowed a platform. Other than that, what does he bring to the table? He's in South Bend, Indiana. That's a college city. About 100,000 people that are out there. I would probably say, based on things that have occurred at Notre Dame, remember when Obama went there to give a speech? I think they covered up one of the they covered up one of the statues that depicted, I think, had some type of a, I don't know if it was something from the Old Testament or New Testament, but some type of a biblical, it had some type of a biblical writing underneath the statue, and they covered it up because they didn't want it to sort of interfere with the message. I mean, what are you guys talking about? But this is what's happened. So I have a feeling that it may be possible that Joe Biden, even though right now where he hasn't declared, he's like number 2, a few percentage points behind, you know, Bernie Sanders, he may be thinking to himself, do I really want to get into this race? Do I really want to fight it? I mean, he's going to be fighting people like Kamala Harris, people like AOC. Now, I know AOC hasn't declared for the presidency, but you got that progressive wing of the party. You've got Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib and Andre Carson from Indiana. These portray themselves as they say that Ilhan Omar, who came from Minnesota, says she's the first Muslim congresswoman. And then you had Rashida Tlaib, who says she's the first Muslim congresswoman, first Palestinian American. She likes to dub herself. Then you have Andre Carson, a black Muslim. All these guys claim to be Muslim. Or Keith Ellison, the former congressman from Minnesota, who then went on to be the deputy chair for the Democratic National Committee and is now the attorney general for Minnesota. All these people claim to be Muslims. They're not Muslims, folks. They're not. They're Islamists. That's what they are. They're Islamists. How do I know? Because everybody knows who I am. I'm an American first and foremost. But guess what? I'm a second-generation Muslim. And I'm telling you, they're not Muslims. They're Islamists. You don't win an election and then drape yourself in a flag from the country that you came from. No, you just won an American election. Why didn't you drape your body? Why didn't Rashida Tlaib put the American flag around her instead of using the Palestinian flag? You want to win an election? Then you know what? Go back to your country, win it there. But this is what we talk about. This is what's happened. This is where Joe Biden is probably wondering, has his party left him behind. You've got like Nancy Pelosi. She's trying to fight this progressive caucus, which is way to the left. And Joe came out of being a centrist Democrat. Basically, I would venture to say that you're talking about some of those blue-collar Democrats, those Reagan Democrats. But they don't have a voice. They don't have a place in the party anymore because they're literally being thrown off the bus. They're literally being thrown off the Democratic, presidential plantation is what's happening. Every one of these candidates, everyone like Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, Bernie Sanders, Cory Spartacus Booker, they're all trying to see, Beto O'Rourke. Get this, folks. This is an Irishman. A full-blooded DNA Irishman who somehow, because he grew up in El Paso, somehow got the Hispanic or the Latino nickname of Beto, and now everybody goes around calling him Beto O'Rourke. And he's part of that progressive caucus of the Democratic Party as well. He's another leftist. So how do you have it? Think of this, folks. When they had the senatorial election, they actually were trying to this is what the mainstream media was doing, the all-left media, the Democratic State Party controlled media. This is how twisted things have become in this day and age of identity politics. You have an Irishman who actually is trying to sort of claim some semblance to an ethnic minority of Hispanics or Latinos, and he has not a drop of blood. I don't think so. Maybe he's got 1,000 or 24th, like, Elizabeth Warren, another person, that's thrown her hat into the proverbial presidential ring. And the only reason she's there is because she's a woman. And she used to have her claim to fame was that she was part Indian. Well, that blew out of the water with the DNA test. So here you've got Beto O'Rourke, and who is he up against? Ted Cruz, who actually does have Hispanic blood, Latino blood in him. And so you actually had a real Hispanic, a real Latino, Ted Cruz running. But the mainstream media, the all-left media, they never talked about it. They never once introduced his ethnicity. But every time that you heard when O'Rourke was mentioned, guess what happened? Beto was put in front of it. Beto, just to sort of give that little bit of an extra nudge into that, folks. We're coming up against a hard break. Just wanted to let you know that you've been listening here to the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show on the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. And remember, we're coming to you from the Conservative Commandos of the radio studios here and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, Leading Edge Radio Network, and AM/FM 24/7. We'll be right back in just a couple of minutes. Don't go away. We got so much to talk about on the other side.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to buyyourtimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. Buyyourtimeshare.com. That's buyyourtimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
And hello, America. We are back. I am Dr. Nasir Shaihk, your host. You're listening and watching the Dr. Nasir Shaihk Show. As we're coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. And if you'd like to hear rebroadcasts of today's show, you can do so. Just check us out on our website at www.ccrsnetwork.com. I'm sorry, www.ccrshow.com, www.ccrshow.com. You can also like, friend us, and follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. Well, like I said, folks, there's so many other things that are going on. The Mueller report, we know, came out. We know Attorney Barr gave his answers to his 4-page summation and laid out a case where there was absolutely no collusion being done between anybody, not President Trump, not member of his family, not members of his administration, no collusion whatsoever with the Russians. However, he did say that within the Mueller report, there were some instances, about 10 of them, where they said Mueller basically said that these could have been instances of obstruction, but they didn't rise to the level of actually being obstruction. And since you don't have a case, since there's no crime committed, and collusion is not a crime, since nothing happened, there was nothing to obstruct. Well, you would think that by Attorney General Barr coming out, giving his summation, and basically saying that, look, here's everything that's out there. We're going to put this out, other than those things that are redacted because of the laws that preclude them from allowing grand jury testimony to be out in the public. Over 450 pages, very few of them redacted. And you know what? Every single time that you have anybody come out there, you've got Jerry Nadler, you've got this Congressman, Swalwell, I call him Smallwell. Then you've got Adam Pencil-Neck Schiff, Kamala Harris, Maxine Waters, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, every single one of them. What are they doing? They've sort of decried some sort of impeachment. You've got some of the wing of the Democratic Party, like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, that are basically saying, and sitting where they're saying, you know what? Let's hold off a little bit on the impeachment. We don't think we can go there yet. But you've got other people on the progressive side, like Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Andre Carson. You've got that whole other wing. We talked about, Representative Smallwell, Schiff, all these guys that are basically saying, no, we want to proceed with impeachment. And that, the amazing part is that these people were telling us what from the very beginning? Robert Mueller was the guy. He was the guy that was, isn't it funny that whenever you hear these things happening in Washington, D.C., the toilet bowl, the swamp, every time they get somebody on the Democratic side to come out and do their bidding, that guy is the next coming of, the Messiah. I mean, that person is just, he cannot do any wrong. He is the perfect person. He is just absolutely, morality, oozes out of these people or that person. He's the most truthful. He's right down, straight down to, the narrow path. He tells it like it is. And then, if they don't get an answer, or if whatever that person who they put up on this huge pedestal as a paragon of virtue to get what they want, when they don't get what they wanted, they attack him. And that's exactly what they're doing. The attacks are coming from the left. Suppose the most tolerant people, they're supposed to be the most tolerant. The most tolerant people are the most intolerant. That's true, folks. That is absolutely true. The people that want all the diversity in the world, the Democrats, are the people that are against diversity. You know what against diversity they want? Oh, they want diversity of color. They want diversity of ethnicity. They want diversity they want all the diversities that are out there, except the diversity of intellectual thought. They don't want the diversity of opinion, of intellectual opinion. God forbid you have an opinion different than the thought of the leftists on the Democratic side. And I make a distinction here, folks, between leftists and liberals. Leftists are those that do not want diversity of thought, do not want diversity of opinion, that want the state to cram down, to put their boot on your neck, on your vocal cords, so that you can't speak, so that your thoughts are not allowed to be expressed in the Democratic arena. That's what they're doing. And that's what they've done here as well. It goes on and on and on and on. And you wonder, when is this going to stop? Folks, it's never going to stop. They're going to continue to do that. And so if you thought for a minute that because the Mueller investigation has come out and it's basically said that there was nothing going on, no collusion, no obstruction, and it was going to stop there, folks, this is going to continue until 2020 and even beyond, because they have nothing else to run on. Can they run against the economy? They can't. Can they run against foreign policy that Donald Trump has done? They can't. Can they run across the jobs that have been created? They can't. Can they run against the fact that black unemployment is at its lowest level ever in the history since they've been taking those measurements? They can't. Can the leftists, can the Democratic Party run against President Trump? Can anybody on the Democratic side, the presidential side, can they run against the fact that Latino unemployment is at its lowest levels ever? More women in the workforce ever. Can they run against anything? We talked about domestic policy, foreign policy. They can't. The only thing they can run against is consistently hate-mongering, fear-mongering, and basically just keep bringing up the same things from 2.5 years ago. You know how that's true, folks? You know why we know that's true? Because look what all of the establishment media, the Democratic State Party controlled media is doing. They're actually going out there and they're saying that the reporting was on point. That the majority of the reporting was on point. That the facts that they brought that CNN, that the New York Crimes, the LA Crimes, that the newspapers, the print media, National Prussian Radio, NPR, MSLSD, anything but conservative ABC, the Negligent Broadcasting Corporation, NBC, what we basically call the Cabal Broadcasting System, CBS, they actually go out there with their pundits, with their journalists, with their anchors, and they're actually saying that they reported everything almost 100% accurate. And here we are going, what realm? Where are you living? I mean, are you really on planet Earth? Or are you one of those paradoxical, planet Earths? You're on Earth 2 or Earth 5000. Where the hell are you guys? I mean, how can you say that? We could go into, we could have another 2-hour show here, basically going into the stories that were untrue, that were actually lies made up by the mainstream media, the all-media Democratic State Party controlled media. How many of those stories do we have to list? But all of a sudden, oh, you know what? Let's look over those and let's just focus on some of the idiocy and stupidity that we talked about. Folks, this is absolutely intercoursing believable, but that's exactly what the left does. That's what the Democratic Party is going to do. And that's what all these contenders for the presidential nomination on the Democratic side, they're going to continue to push it from the progressive side. They're going to see who can out-left the other person's left flank and continue to go so far left. That's what everybody's doing right now for the primary. And then they say, oh, they get their base all fired up. And then what do they have to do? They have to come back to the center? Folks, I don't think they can do that. I don't think they can come to the center. Anyways, we're up against another break here, folks. It's great having you. Thanks so much for being a part of us here on the Conservative Commanders Radio and watching us here on the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. Coming up next, we've got Richard Manning, who is one of our guests today. He's the president of Americans for Limited Government. He worked directly with President Trump on trade issues during President Trump's run for office. And Rick is going to be talking about his article, The Sri Lankan Eastern Massacres, that underscore the threat posed to the West and to Christianity.
I saw voter fraud with my own eyes. Now, people say, why didn't you report it to the authorities? Well, they were the ones doing it.
The integrity of one man, one vote doesn't apply at the Texas state legislature. There is no way to know if your representatives are voting for themselves.
Department, a Republican, reaches back to vote for Democrat Oliveda. Democrat Matt Reynolds votes for Republican England.
2 out of 3 voters nationwide believe that voter fraud is a serious problem in the U.S. today.
The process is rigged.
Both sides of the aisle are guilty.
Florida now has to tell the Department of Justice whether the state will comply with DOJ's demand to stop purging thousands of people from its voter rolls.
We have the sloppiest election system of any industrialized democracy.
Philadelphia flagged 50,000 duplicate registrations, so just think how many more slipped through.
It's almost impossible to detect.
How do you get caught? You only get caught if you confess.
Election corruption is deeply embedded in America. Quote, election fraud is a crime that usually pays, unquote, writes Tracy Campbell in his book, Deliver the Vote, A History of Election Fraud, an American political tradition from 1742 to 2004. In 1742, the first Prime Minister of Britain in the American colonies, Robert Walpole, was forced to resign.
We have a right not to have our vote canceled out by someone who shouldn't be voting, someone who's an illegal alien, someone who's a felon not eligible to vote, someone who doesn't exist. If they vote, they cancel your vote out as much as if you're prevented from voting.
If this is going to be fixed, it's going to have to be a citizen effort. It comes down to, it's the same old question, if not now, when? If not us, then who?
This is huge. This is about the democracy and the principles of the United States of America. People say, but why you? Why you? Why? Well, why not? And if it starts with a fireman, if it starts with a sanitation worker, if it starts with a teacher or a nurse or a caretaker of the elderly, then so be it. It's got to start somewhere. But it's time we come together and fix this problem once and for all.
There is no serious person out there who would suggest somehow that you could even rig America's elections.
To say that it doesn't exist is an outright lie.
Serious allegations of voter fraud, the claims raising questions about the
Commerce Secretary Ron Brown and 32 others were on a military plane that crashed today in a violent storm. There are no known survivors at this time.
The U.S. Army was funded by the evil entity.
I saw voter fraud with my own eyes.
To say that it doesn't exist is an outright lie.
The process is rigged.
People die and fall for the right time. It's too time.
So it's incredibly important now that we draw a line and say, not on our watch.
And welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, Dr. Nasir Shaihk, and yours truly, Rick Trader. For rebroadcasts of our show, please check out our website, ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. Please like us, friend us, and follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. And Nasir, we have a very familiar guest with us today, but please make the introduction.
Thanks, Rick. We have Richard Manning, who is the president of the Americans for Limited Government. He worked directly with President Trump on trade issues during President Trump's run for office. He also serves on Trump's transition team in the Labor Department. His website, getliberty.org. And he's also a co-host here on the Conservative Commandos radio show as well. Rick, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Always fun.
Well, great. Well, give us an idea, first of all, for those of our listeners out there and viewers that are new, because we're on the TV network out there in California as well. What is getliberty.org? What do you do at your organization?
The group is Americans for Limited Government. It's just like it sounds. We fight every day for limited government. It may not seem like we win many because it appears as though big government seems to be on the rise. But, the truth is, you win little victories at a time. You win the small ones. For instance, we were successful in stopping HUD from taking over local zoning initiatives through essentially this appropriations process. The world would be a different place if federal government controlled your zoning because of an Obama administration ruling, and we were able to get that stopped. And so sometimes when you win, nobody notices it because their life didn't change at all because the big government push was stopped. And that's just one example of the success that we've had in the last couple of years.
Well, Rick, over the weekend, obviously, was a huge holiday for Christians of all faiths. So happy Easter and happy Passover to you as well. But it was marred by, obviously, a terrorist act that occurred from Islamist, radicalist, fundamentalists in Sri Lanka. And you wrote an article about Sri Lanka Easter massacres underscored the threat posed to the West and Christianity. I just wanted to, give my, it seems like that's all we're doing these days is we're offering, prayers for people that have, died because of evil acts of atrocity committed, by these Islamist jihadists. I've told people my faith, my background is that I tell people first and foremost that I'm an American, but I'm a second-generation Muslim. I hope people understand the difference between, I know it's very hard in these days because there's so many things that are happening out there, but I try to tell people that there's a difference, at least I try to do that through my everyday, a difference between a person who is a Muslim and a person who is an Islamist. And an Islamist is a terrorist, a jihadist, a fundamentalist, and a Muslim is somebody that just wants to practice his own religion in his own home, doesn't want to impose anything on anybody else, and just wants to be able to do what he can in America, practicing his faith, as he sees fit, and doesn't want to impose it on anybody. But give us a sense of the article that you wrote, and what your feelings were when you were writing the article, and why you went into it.
The interesting part about it is I started writing the article before Easter, because it really has struck me kind of the problems that are occurring in Nigeria and in Africa, where we've had just constant clashes, where Christians have been wiped out, Christian villages have been wiped out by tribesmen who are effectively seeking to impose second-class citizenship on people because they're Christian in the northern part of Nigeria. It's now, we've heard about Boko Haram, which was a radical group that that kidnapped about 200 Christian kids, Christian women, and they about 5-6 years ago, and it was met by the Obama administration with the hashtag campaign. I'm confident that Boko Haram was quite intimidated by the hashtags, and it made a big difference. But so this is not new, and it struck me that people in Nigeria were wondering, is anybody paying attention? Does anybody care? And I kind of had a half-written piece, and other things would keep coming up, and I never kind of put the finishing touches to it. But after Sri Lanka, I felt it was really important that I kind of tie the whole thing together. Because the truth is, we're looking at 3 continents where radical Islamists are, in fact, engaged in real terror activities, both against landmarks and artifacts and cathedrals that may or may not be still used by the Roman Catholic Church, but nonetheless are attacking them. I'm not talking about Notre Dame. I'm talking about hundreds of other attacks that have occurred across France for the last couple of years. Then we look at the Sri Lanka, which occurred there, where we have 290 people who died. About 250 of them were Christian worshipers on Easter morning. There were about 35 to 40 who were killed from the hotel bombings. So there was an attack there, which was pretty devastating. And I just thought it was time to speak up and say, listen, it's happening on 3 continents. People in Nigeria shouldn't feel like they're being left out. This kind of Islamist attack is being accepted, and we kind of just roll over on it on 3 different continents because, quite honestly, the Western world has gone to a postmodern point of view. And the postmodern point of view is it really doesn't provide you with a theological or even a philosophical leg to stand on. When you have no philosophical or theological leg to stand on, you don't know how to deal with people who do.
Well, you know what? You're absolutely correct, Rick. And the thing is, people, they talk about the apologists, and every faith has got their apologists, and then they've got interfaith apologies, that are going on. And this is one of the things that I try to stress when I'm out there talking with people, and for people to know, you cannot get into bed with Islamists, jihadists, radical fundamentalists. It is a complete anti everything that is West. They will never, allow Western ideas to come, into that sphere of what they're trying to influence out there. So one of the things is that you wrote here, the West has chosen silence in the face of the anti-Western values of the Sharia-wielding invaders coming in the guise of being refugees. Put aside the fact that refugees, why do you feel that the West has chosen silence? Do you think it's the political correctness that people are just afraid? Because like I said, it's open season on attacking Christianity here in America and everywhere else. But they're attacking, but they will not attack, these Islamist fundamentalists. They're very careful in how they, use their words when it's in the news cycle or the pundits are talking about it or anybody else out there. Why do you think that is?
I think it's at least twofold. Number one, most people don't understand the difference. Most people don't understand that Sharia law, for instance, is a system of government. It isn't and it contradicts. It is incompatible with our constitutional form of government, and so so Sharia law itself doesn't, and it's hard to argue that. You have to know a lot, and so it's easier just to shrug your shoulders and say, well, to each his own, and freedom of religion, and you don't bug me and I don't bug you. And if that's all that happened, and it was just freedom of religion and you don't bug me and I don't bug you, I have no problem. If it's a competition of ideas, you have your faith, I have my faith. I believe that God works it out. But it's and obviously we both have different views about which faith is correct in terms of the way it points. And that's perfectly legitimate in this country. That's supposed to happen in this country. Because we're not supposed to have monolithic sets of ideas. We have diverse ideas. The challenge is when one group of people choose to try to impose their ideas on others. And that's where the problem lies. So.
And that's exactly what people don't understand. And this is the thing that I try to tell people all the time. Look, if you're a majority country anywhere in the world, and you want to impose your values and your rules or whatever, that's one of the things that's people have said in the past, that where America and the West has gotten in because they've tried to introduce you cannot introduce democracy into these theocratic societies that are trying to go not forwards, but they're trying to go backwards. And people just they don't understand this at all. And that's where, for example, that we're talking about in terms of where this whole thing is leading to, where you have this. I mean, I didn't even realize. I mean, to give you an idea, and I know we're coming up on a break real quick, but I didn't even know what Fulani militants were. I mean, a Fulani militant. I mean, when I was growing up as a child, I didn't even know what Shia and Sunni were. And I'm telling you this as an American growing up in a Muslim family. We just, we were the only Muslim family in a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant neighborhood. And we grew up and nobody cared at that point in time, and it's amazing as to what's gone on right now. And I just, from the bottom of my heart, my condolences, my prayers. I want people like myself, Americans who are Muslims, to speak out against these Islamist, fundamentalist, jihadist, terrorist zealots that are out there that are killing innocent children, innocent men, innocent women. The same thing occurred. They're not only the Christians. I was just absolutely amazed that you gave the statistics. Almost 11 a day Christians are being killed. I mean, and you know what? These people, these Islamist terrorists, jihadists, they're also killing Muslims too. Just to give a quick example, in 2014, they attacked a school in northern Islamabad, in Peshawar in Pakistan. They killed 150 children, and these are children that were going to an army school. Because and the leader of the militant, the Islamist jihadist, radical fundamentalists, the reason he said was, we wanted to strike hearts and terrors into the men of the army. But they decided to go after children. And this is absolutely barbaric. And, like I said, I could go on and on, but it looks like we're coming up against a break.
Well, Nasir, I make the rules so I can bend the rules a little bit. I wanted to ask you a question. You said that your family, a Muslim family, was... you guys were raised, you guys lived in the heart of a white, blue-collar community. Do you find yourself looked at differently today than back then, before there was so much radical Islam?
For me, it's so different because even as of today, I actually get a little bit more from my own community sometimes, because when you're talking as a conservative, they don't see that happening. So believe it or not, from the liberals and the others that are there, they're almost wondering, why are you conservative? My faith really has nothing to do with it at this point in time. It's almost as to why I'm a conservative. It's not like they say, oh, why are you a Muslim? And to tell you the truth, up until now, I honestly tell people, I have not faced anything that I would consider to be people that are attacking me or my religion. One of the things is we are in our community, we're in our school system, we invite our neighbors over for dinner, our teachers, my students, my children's, teachers, principals, we invite them over into our home. We have discussions. They invite us to their to Christmas parties. We invite them to when we have our holidays. So I'm hoping that people say when, God forbid, when these things happen and these are committed in the name of Islam, at least those people say, you know what? It's not people like you. It's those Islamists and fundamentalists that are doing it. And we realize that you are not like that at all. So that's what I hope to portray. And that's what I try to live my life every day.
All right. Went a little long on this segment, but we do need to take a break. And you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Nasir Shaihk, and yours truly, Rick Trader. Our guest this segment is Rick Manning. He's the president of Americans for Limited Government, and we're discussing Rick's article, Sri Lanka Eastern Massacre Underscores Threat Imposed to the West and Christianity. Don't go away. Nasir and I will be right back with our guest.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America, and get this. Did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Serious allegations of voter fraud, the claims raising questions about the
Commerce Secretary Ron Brown and 32 others were on a military plane that crashed today in a violent storm. There are no known survivors at this time.
The U.S. Army was funded by the evil entity.
saw voter fraud with my own eyes.
To say that it doesn't exist is an outright lie.
The process is rigged.
People die and fall for the right to vote. It's too brutal.
So it's incredibly important now that we draw a line and say, not on our watch.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, Dr. Nasir Shaihk, and yours truly, Rick Trader. And I want to give a shout out to the folks who listen to us on radio stations in Jacksonville, Tampa, in the Villages, Florida, Las Vegas and Reno, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, Boulder and Colorado Springs, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Long Beach, California, and seen on the AUN television network in Northern California. Our guest this segment is Richard Manning. He is the president of Americans for Limited Government. He's also a co-host here on the Conservative Commandos radio show. Rick, it's great to see and speak with you again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rick, this is a terrific article, and you certainly did a lot of research, obviously, by putting this article together. Sri Lanka Easter massacre underscores threat posed to the West and Christianity. Rick, the statistics you have in here are really scary and shocking. You said that a nonprofit group, Open Doors organization, which monitors Christian persecution worldwide, reports that 11 Christians are killed for faith-related reasons every day, and around the world, a total of 4,136 as of April 22nd. Rick, that's scary, but what bothers me is, rightfully so, during the shooting in a mosque in Christchurch, New Zealand, that sends shockwaves around the world. But when you're talking about over 4,100 Christians died as of April 22nd this year, wow. We didn't hear anything about that.
Yeah, it's like when something is just occurring and it's occurring far away, and quite honestly, it's occurring in largely non-Western environments. What you see is people it doesn't end up making the news. Mm-hmm. We chase the things, and this is a sad truth, but. If Christchurch had happened in Nairobi, mm-hmm. It would have Kenya. I think it would have been received a lot less attention than it did because it was in New Zealand. And I don't know why that bias exists in terms of our media, but we know it does exist because we know that there was we had the entire Rwanda tragedy occur in Africa. And it was largely ignored by the West. We had basically two tribes murdering each other to almost extinction levels, mm-hmm. and it was ignored. So yeah, there is a certain element of this that if something doesn't have a Western world feel, it doesn't get the same attention. I once again pointed out in the piece that the Notre Dame Cathedral being burnt, and every indication from officials is that was an electrical fire, not an act of terrorism. So I want to be clear about that. But it is everybody that drew a lot of attention. People taking a lot of selfies in front of that cathedral. But churches that are burned on a regular basis in Nigeria get virtually no attention. Churches that are bulldozed by the Chinese government get no attention because ultimately we don't have cameras nonstop running in those areas necessarily, so you don't get as good a video. But also, people, you kind of relate more to a cathedral in Paris mm-hmm. than they do to one in a far off land that they never will likely visit. Yet the tragedy is is every bit as much the same as a cathedral that's burned down, San Sebastian Cathedral in Paris, in France, for instance, being burnt, which was a terrorist act. So that's essentially the challenge. My bottom line of the piece, Rick, though, is that until America and the Western world decides, actually comes to grips with the fact that we do have values that we're based upon. Postmodern attempt to eliminate all of the values that made the Western world create the greatest economies in the world, create the greatest architecture in the world, some of the greatest literature in the world. All of those things didn't just happen by happenstance. They were a product of a culture. And by walking away from that culture and basically going with the idea that we really don't have a culture that's worth defending. Well, guess what? The minute you do that, you open the door to other cultures to come in and fill the vacuum. And that's what's happening in Western Europe. And quite honestly, that's what's beginning to happen here in the United States.
Rick, in your article, and there's a couple lines from your article I want to read. The West has chosen silence in the face of the anti-Western values of the Sharia-wielding invaders coming in guise of being refugees. You also write, radical Islam, on the other hand, demands subjugation of the infidel. Thank you. Of the infidel, whether through passive submission or those who impose their foreign values play the victim, as seen in much of Europe. So there almost, Rick, seems to be two sets of standards, two sets of rules. It's almost like attacks on Christians is somehow sanitized or homogenized. And for instance, the reactions to these attacks from people like Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton and Elizabeth Warren, and I'm going to change the screen here just shortly. I hope that you and Nasir will be able to see this. But these are tweets from Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, Elizabeth Warren, and Julian Castro, who's one of these 80,000 that are running for president. Barack Obama, the attacks on tourists and Easter worshippers in Sri Lanka are an attack on humanity. Hillary Clinton, I'm praying for everyone affected by today's horrific attacks on Easter worshippers and travelers in Sri Lanka. Here's Elizabeth Warren. To slaughter worshippers at church during Easter service is an act of great evil. Julian Castro, on the day of redemption and hope, the evil of those attacks on Easter worshippers and tourists in Sri Lanka. Hey, do you think the Democrats got their talking points out there that these victims were Easter worshippers and tourists and not Christians?
Yeah, I was kind of surprised at how that term took off. Julian Castro statement at least mentioned the redemption and hope that comes about from Easter through the resurrection of Christ. But it's unusual to have that level of coordination so rapidly, which we saw throughout that. And let me be clear. This is not as if they couldn't have just redone the script of Christ Church and basically changed 4 words. And the Christ Church, and rightfully so, they had no problem to mention the Muslim worshipers who were attacked, and rightfully so. It was a statement of fact, and it was a statement. But by making being afraid to say Christian worshipers, for some reason, it was, or just Christians, it was almost an attack. For some reason, saying the word Christian and putting the Christian in the role of being a victim of an attack ran it so far against the grain that they couldn't bring themselves to do it. And they actually used more characters to do it a different way in an environment, Twitter, where characters matter. Although we've gone away from the idea that character matters in politics and on Twitter.
Matters on Twitter. Rick Manning, I want to thank you so much for joining us here on the Conservative Commandos radio show. Please tell our audience how they could follow your work, the work of Americans for Limited Government, and also to read your articles.
Sure. Go to getliberty.org, or follow me on Twitter. It's @rmanning957, @rmanning957.
All right, you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, Dr. Nasir Shaihk, and yours truly, Rick Trader. We're going to take a little break, but we're coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, AM/FM 24/7, AUN TV, and as Rick Manning says, if you can't find us, you're not really looking. Don't go away. Nasir and I will be right back after this break.
Serious allegations of voter fraud, the claims raising questions about the
Commerce Secretary Ron Brown and 32 others were on a military plane that crashed today in a violent storm. There are no known survivors at this time.
The U.S. Army was funded by the evil entity.
Saw voter fraud with my own eyes.
To say that it doesn't exist is an outright lie.
The process is rigged.
People who die and fall for the right time. It's too brutal. So it's incredibly important now that we draw a line and say, not on our watch.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to buyyourtimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. Buyyourtimeshare.com. That's buyyourtimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Well, Nasir, it's been great to share this time with you. I want to thank you for sitting in today as my co-host. Please tell our audience how they can keep track of you when you're not here on Conservative Commandos.
Well, they can visit our Facebook page at The Nasir Shaikh Show. That's The Nasir Shaikh Show. Or at Twitter, which is at Nasir Shaikh Show. That's at Nasir Shaikh Show.
And Nasir, will you do the honor of thanking
absolutely,
our guests?
yes. We'll thank our guests. So our first guest was Daniel Ortner, who's an attorney with the Pacific Legal Foundation, basically focusing on First Amendment rights. And Daniel was talking to us about San Antonio and Chick-fil-A and how and why free speech matters. Our second guest was Richard Manning. He is the president of Americans for Limited Government. He worked directly with President Trump on trade issues during President Trump's run for office. Rick's article that he talked about was about the Sri Lankan Easter massacres and how they underscored the threat that's posed to the West and to Christianity. So once again, Rick, you had two great guests that you booked for us.
All right. But for right now, we are out of time. We got to run. We got to go. Take care. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow on TV and on radio.
I'm Jeff Crouere. Thanks for watching the Jeff Crouere YouTube channel. Well, the Attorney General said it. Yes, indeed, there was spying on the Trump campaign. We all know it. What did the Democrats do? They created a phony dossier. What did the Department of Justice do? They peddled it to some FISA judges. What did that lead to? Spying on the Trump campaign. When has that ever been done before? Never. So certainly there was spying going on. We all know it. Now, supposedly they were looking for Russian collusion, but really it was the Obama administration spying on a presidential campaign, and then the deep state spying on a president during his transition and during the time he was in office. This is unprecedented. We finally, ladies and gentlemen, have an attorney general. We've been having Jeff Sessions for 2 years. The man was an imposter. He was a phony. He was a weakling. He did nothing. Now, Bill Barr is someone who can maybe finally take control of this Department of Justice and do something. Let's turn the tables on the evildoers. Let's turn the tables on the people that were really committing the crimes. What did Mueller find? 2 years of investigating, $25 to $30 million, bunch of partisan Democrats investigating Donald Trump and all of his associates. They got people on certain crimes, process crimes, lying, nothing to do with Russian collusion, nothing to do with obstruction of justice. They found nothing. And before Mueller, the FBI was investigating, the Department of Justice was investigating Donald Trump. They found nothing after all of this time. So obviously, the man is innocent. He has been targeted unfairly. We now need to go after the people that hatched this scheme. And it was a scheme from day one. It was a scheme to try to prevent him from getting elected. Then it was a scheme to try to prevent him from implementing that agenda. And this is all about the agenda. They didn't want to see that agenda enacted. They didn't want to see what you wanted, what I wanted being put into place. So now it's time for real justice. And let's hope and pray this Attorney General is going to find out who was conducting the spying, how it was done, and whether any crimes were committed. The Democrats don't like it. But now finally we're seeing an Attorney General doing his job, and I say hallelujah. Finally, maybe we'll see some justice in America. I'm Jeff Crouere. Thanks for watching. I'm Jeff Crouere. Thanks for watching the Jeff Crouere YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe so you can check all of our videos out, including our next one, which is all about the president's approval rating and how it's going up.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Serious allegations of voter fraud, the claims raising questions about the
Commerce Secretary Ron Brown and 32 others were on a military plane that crashed today in a violent storm. There are no known survivors at this time.
The U.S. Army was funded by the evil entity.
Saw voter fraud with my own eyes.
To say that it doesn't exist is an outright lie.
The process is rigged.
People die and fall for the right to vote. It's it's too brutal. So it's incredibly important now that we draw a line and say, not on our watch.
Liberals have gone absolutely nuts. From wanting to ban skyscrapers, to letting the Boston Marathon bomber vote, to saying, hey, you don't have to pay off your student loans. It's cool. We've got all of that, and all of it's going on right now. Also, San Francisco has become the public poop capital of the world, and we've got a map to prove it. We'll look at that, plus the latest on the college admissions scandal, all that and more. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour.
God bless the United States of America.
All right, friends, we've got a lot to cover today. And before we jump into it, though, please subscribe. And once you do, please hit that bell. That way you'll get notified. All right, let's get on with the show. Okay, first, we've got the Democrats have just gone absolutely crazy. And I can't make this up. Here's just a sampling of some of the things that have been going on this week. You've got the mayor of New York wants to ban skyscrapers, glass and steel structures. You've got Elizabeth Warren saying, hey, all these student loans that people took out, you don't have to pay that back. And Bernie Sanders wants felons and terrorists to be able to vote. And you've got candidates campaigning with drag queens. All of that's going on. So let's take a look at this. And first, we're going to start with Mayor Bill de Blasio because it's just outrageous. Here's a story from the New York Post. Mayor Bill de Blasio is preparing to take New York City back to the Stone Age by making glass and steel skyscrapers extinct. Still flirting with a run for president, the mayor held an Earth Day press conference on Monday to announce his plan to fight climate change with a Green New Deal. I think someone has that already, including a bill designed to eliminate new glass-fronted towers from the city skyline. We are going to introduce legislation to ban the classic glass and steel skyscrapers that have contributed so much to global warming, de Blasio said. They have no place in our city or our Earth anymore. Oh my gosh. So these massive cities are not going to have massive skyscrapers anymore. I mean, what, are they going to spread out with one-story buildings? It's just, I mean, what is that? It's not realistic for a city that is built on skyscrapers or any major city in the U.S. or around the world. But that's just one. Here's another. Now let's move on to socialist Bernie Sanders, okay, who wants to allow felons, including Boston Marathon terrorist bomber, to be able to vote. And here's this story. Senator Bernie Sanders on Monday said he wanted prison inmates to vote in elections, including convicted Boston Marathon bomber Doshar Zadev. I think the right to vote is inherent to our democracy. Yes, even for terrible people, Mr. Sanders said at a town hall-style forum hosted by CNN in Manchester, New Hampshire. Restricting voting rights, even for convicted murderer and terrorists, such as Zarneb, he said, would be a slippery slope toward undermining American democracy. Zarnev was convicted of the al-Qaeda-inspired bomb attack on the 2013 Boston Marathon that killed 3 people and wounded 260 others. All right, it doesn't impede on democracy when someone forfeited their rights by breaking the law, by being a terrorist. You are in prison, you've lost those rights. Those aren't, rights that you have forever. Those aren't rights that come without any kind of conditions. You have to be a good citizen of the United States in order to exercise that right to vote. And bombing people is not what I'd call being a good citizen, and yet that's what Bernie Sanders wants to do. All right, now we have Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, who's out campaigning, wants to be president. She's up in Iowa, of course, and she's campaigning with drag queens. And here is this report. It says, Kirsten Gillibrand wants to be president, but for one night, she was hanging with the queens. The New York senator and Democrat hopeful stopped by a gay bar in Des Moines, Iowa Friday night. She joined the girls backstage, swapped dresses with a drag queen, and painted her mug for the gods. Translation, she applied makeup beautifully. All right, she even tweeted about this, and here's what she said. Vanna and the amazing queens at the Blazing Saddle in Des Moines invited me for a visit tonight before their show. I felt underdressed, so I brought a dress I picked up yesterday. Turns out it fit me, but it fit Vanna even better. Thank you for having me, ladies. Okay, I don't even know what to say about that one. That's considered a valid, worthwhile campaign stop. I mean, this is just it's nuts. But we got to go on because now we have Elizabeth Warren, and here's what she had to say. Here's a report from CNN. She wants to, again, do away with college loan debt. You went into that contract, you got the loan, but now she says, hey, guess what? You don't have to pay it back. Taxpayers are going to pick that up. So here's a report from CNN. Warren's new plan would forgive $50,000 in student loans for Americans and households earning less than $100,000 a year. According to analysis provided by her campaign, that would provide immediate relief to more than 95% of the 45 million Americans with student debt. The Massachusetts Democrat and 2020 contender is also calling for a drastic increase in federal spending on higher education that would make tuition and fees free for all students at 2- and 4-year public colleges and expand grants for lower income and minority students to cover costs like housing, food, books, and childcare. Okay, the campaign estimates that this plan would cost $1.25 trillion over the next 10 years. What in the world is going on? Even the Washington Post has come out with an editorial blasting this plan. You can't have people willingly go in and take out loans and then say you don't have to pay it back. Do you know how much abuse it would be for the system going forward? You'd have people going into college that have no intention of doing anything because it's free. I mean, yes, we need to restrain costs. We need to handle that. But offering free education is not the solution. And that's just one of a laundry list of what these presidential candidates are offering. It's absolutely insane. Okay, so now we want to get to San Francisco. But first, I want to mention, I'd like to invite you guys to check out our Patreon program. It's patreon.com/BobbyEberle13. And this is a way for you guys to help support the channel. And it allows me to give back to our Patreon members, special access giveaways. We already post our show earlier for Patreon members. You get early access to that. But as it grows, we're going to add a lot more features. So please check it out. Please help support the channel so we can offer even more features on the 13-minute news hour. All right, so let's get to San Francisco. San Francisco is a mess, and you guys all know it. And it's because the liberal mentality has gripped this city. It's like the poster child for the left. They won't do anything about the homelessness. They won't do anything about the drug users. And so what's the result? You have public pooping. And here is a report from Fox News. It's just amazing. Watch your step in San Francisco. A new map pinpointing the locations where human feces are reported to have been found in California City since 2011 shows San Francisco has a staggering problem with the stinky stuff. Nearly every city block has had a poop sighting in recent years as the city grapples with homelessness, according to data compiled by Open the Books. Okay, and here, check out. This is the actual map. You guys can take a look at this, see the concentrations. It is absolutely everywhere. And here's some additional details from Fox News. The largest concentration of complaints was in the area of Market Street, where the headquarters of companies such as Twitter and Uber are located. Nearly 100 markers were clustered along the block that surrounds City Hall. Kind of makes sense, I guess. The details of the complaints that San Francisco Department of Public Works has received are unclear, but data shows the number of sightings has increased dramatically since 2011. That year, 5,547 human feces incidents were reported. That number rose to over 28,000 in 2018. Over 28,000 public poopings in just 1 year. I mean, that is nuts, and it just shows you what happens when liberals, when the left take control of a city. I mean, that map is just outrageous. This is out in public, and yet they're not doing anything about it. It's just, and in fact, it's actually getting worse. And we'll keep on this. We'll address the poop issue. We'll investigate, and we'll let you know how it goes. All right. So next, I wanted to update you on the college admission scandal because there's been some new revelations over the last week and a half or so. And for those of you that need to be, haven't followed the issue, there's a group of rich and powerful parents that paid this company, this man in particular, to help get their kids into college, but not by, studying better on the test, but by bribing and cheating and the just unlawful ways of getting in, as far as like changing your SAT scores, having other people take an SAT for you, faking credentials to pretend you're a member of the athletic team when you're not. And it was a huge sting. It snared about 50 different parents and coaches and administrators and things like that. And so you had a round of plea deals, okay? The two of the most famous people that are involved in this are actresses Felicity Huffman and Lori Loughlin. And Felicity Huffman was one of the first groups to take an early plea. And she put out, we covered it earlier on previous show, a lengthy apology saying she cheated the system. She felt she was sorry. She, feels bad for people that try to get in the honest way. And whether it was sincere or not, my point is that she's doing the things that play well with prosecutors. And the word is that they are actually pushing for her and this group of early plea bargain people to get lenient sentences, 0 to no to a very small jail time. But on the other hand, there is a group of parents that didn't take that early plea. Lori Loughlin and her fashion designer Massimo Giannulli are one of those that pled not guilty. And all of those people had additional charges added to them, such as money laundering, which is very serious stuff. And they are still in the process of denial and trying to see what's going to happen next. So here is the latest on Lori Loughlin and those groups. Lawyers for Lori Loughlin and the husband, Massimo Giannulli, filed documents requesting that the government turn over the evidence in the college admissions scam against them. Loughlin, 54, and Giannulli, 55, and 15 other defendants claim they haven't received any of the extremely voluminous evidence in their case, court documents obtained by Fox allege. All right. And they aren't reacting very well to the new charges that have been brought against him. And Fox goes on with that. If convicted of all charges against them, Giannulli and Loughlin may each face up to 40 years behind bars. The news of their potential prison sentences reportedly left the former Full House actress particularly shaken. It's just taking some time for it to sink in that she was allegedly doing what she was doing could be considered illegal, a source close previously said. To her, it wasn't egregious behavior. Was it entitled and perhaps selfish? Perhaps. But she didn't see it as a big legal violation. Oh my gosh. See, that's what gets me, because hers, Felicity Huffman, was charged with paying $15,000 to basically forge an SAT test. Giannulli and Loughlin are accused of paying $500,000 to fake applications to USC to get their daughters in as if they were recruits for the rowing team, and they don't even row. And so it's really getting serious for them. And then the latest news, it just came out yesterday, according to the Daily Beast, is that the coach that was involved in this recruitment has decided to plead guilty and cooperate. So that is a big blow against Loughlin, and we'll see what happens next. Folks, that's all the time we have today. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for watching. Please tell your friends about it and enjoy the rest of the week. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is, there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to BuyYourTimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
It's very rare that we find new ideas in American politics. Donald Trump's economic nationalism and focus on blue-collar workers certainly is a new idea. And before him, you have to go back to Reagan with his Laffer curve and supply-side economics and budget-cutting conservative views. And before that, I guess Lyndon Johnson would be the next purveyor of new ideas. But it's rare. And we're in an era where a new idea is surfacing and dominating the left. And that is the idea of socialism, which has previously been a dirty word in our politics, but now is being happily and willingly adopted by a whole slew of Democratic candidates as describing them. In fact, Bernie Sanders was for many years, and I think still is, listed as a socialist, not as a Democrat. I think he switched to Democrat, but he was elected to Congress and Senate on the socialist label. Well, in running against socialism, it's very important that we don't just sputter and say he's a socialist, you know, like that's an epithet, as much as we'd say he's a communist or he's a fascist. Can't run against it that way because the word has been rehabilitated by the media. And what you need to do is to explain what socialism is. And there are two basic kinds of socialism. One is the classical kind that Karl Marx had in mind, where the government, the public, owns the means of production and the means of the delivery of services, which means the government owns the banks, the utility companies, the factories, Google, Apple, all of those people are part of the government, just like the motor vehicle department is or the military is. And of course, the defect in that is that government can't manage its way out of a paper bag. Look at any government institution that is socialist, like the VA or the post office and Amtrak, and you realize pretty quickly the incredible limitations of the government. They can't fire, they can't hire freely, they can't promote, they can't demote, they can't really manage. Part of their power is eroded by unions that kind of run the agency. And you can run against that kind of socialism really by citing aspects of American governance. The other kind of socialism is what Sanders says he is, which is called a democratic socialist. And their model is Scandinavia, where services are provided cradle to grave, and everybody has health insurance, everybody has workers' compensation, welfare, there's a guaranteed level of income, you don't have to be poor to get food stamps, and nutritional care, care for prenatal, care at the end of your life, and all of that stuff. The problem with that is that it produces stultifyingly high taxes. In the U.S. today, even if you live in the worst place in the world for this, California, you end up paying about 50% of your income in taxes, state and local and federal combined. But if you put in Medicare for all and free college tuition and many of them, the Green New Deal, you're talking about a 65 or 70% tax rate, certainly for the top bracket, and higher tax rates for everybody. If you're currently in the 25% bracket, you probably will see what life is like at 40 or 45. And that's just an enormous growth of the public sector. And it means that most of your decisions are taken out of your hands and given to the government, because most of your income is taken out of your hands and given to the government. And the government really makes decisions for your life and controls your life in a way that it doesn't now, where half your income at least you're able to keep. And I think in running against socialism, the important thing is to describe it, to explain it, so people understand it and can see real-life examples that they're familiar with, like the VA and Amtrak and the post office and so on. And they can really, or the IRS itself, and they can come to understand the level of insensitivity, of remoteness, of bureaucratization, of impossible to move and change that socialism brings with it. And that they can begin to calculate the impact of socialism on their own wallet and their own pocketbook. But you need to take it apart and explain it from the basics. You need to explain how capitalism is based on incentives, and that socialism is really a scheme for dividing the pie, but it has nothing to do with baking the pie. And in fact, it disincentivizes baking the pie, so the pie ends up being smaller and smaller, and the division becomes more and more crucial, because there's less and less incentive to bake a big pie. And that the American model that's largely working these days is that you incentivize baking a great big pie, and there's enough for everybody, whatever the size of their slice is as a percent. And that model is very opposite from the traditional socialist model. And that needs to be explained to people. We need to have people understand that, really from the bottom up, with our totally deficient public school system that doesn't even teach history, certainly not economics. You have to really send everybody to school understanding what socialism is all about. For once, we'll have an election based on real new ideas and trying them out in an election of ideas. It's going to be fascinating.